I'm back. So we talked about how to identify, evaluate a business. You're done with that part. So today I'm going to just take you through the basic steps of an entrepreneur's journey onto some part. So next part comes is how to actually set it up, how to do that part. Here is where your development idea or your project plan or your entire plan is very important. Now there are many ways to do it, and there is not that I have to do either this or that. You can try all of them or you can try a mix of them, but remember what is done and you can have your own method also. I insist on that every time because I really think originality is what makes you different. In a game theoretic world, everyone will know this. How they apply it will make a bit of a difference here and there, but someone coming with a completely new thing will always have a heads up. So of course, the first thing that obviously comes when you're looking at a new product development is, or service development is brainstorming. You do it with your colleagues, with your trusted team. By that time, you may have formed the nucleus of your team. You can even brainstorm with people and say, hey, I want to catch you for coffee and discuss an idea I have. Or you may talk to a senior entrepreneur, or you can talk to your prof, or you can talk to a businessman you know, anyone. But brainstorming usually means that it's not self-thinking. It's with a group of people or at least 2 or 3 people, and you are literally saying nothing is above board, nothing is under board. We will discuss anything and everything. There's nothing called stupidity. It can be there. By the way, many great ideas have come from seemingly stupid ideas which everyone laughed at, but they went on to become a success. I mean, imagine when someone said, I will write an electronic mail system. People would have said, what? Who would need that? I mean, you can go and look at a lot of history. There are people who have said, absolutely brilliant people. Who needs more than 70 KB of RAM? These are things where things change. People cannot do it. So nothing is funny. Nothing is underboard. You do not know any lesser than anyone else. Please always do it that. Unless you are in that mindset, going into a brainstorming is more like, how do I steal ideas? But if you really want to contribute, throw all caution to the wind. Do not have any complex whatsoever. Do not have any, oh, I'm talking to him guy. Underwhelmed or overwhelmed. Don't go any of those ways. Just be yourself and make sure it's a true intellectual exchange. So brainstorming is obviously one thing that we do. You do it all the time when you are planning your trips, when you are planning how to take on that part. A lot of it happens when people who play sports, especially team sports, you brainstorm. You, oh, ye karega to hum log kya karenge? Odik theke era mi ki korbo. So you always think this way on that part. The second part, which is a bit of, I'm sure some of you do it, but it is a bit of a important thing to do, is mind mapping. Mind mapping usually is not for your own mind. Your own mind, how it thinks, is your secret. But you are making a product for a target audience. So mind mapping is trying to empathize with the target audience and think, how is their mind working? Or if they think this, will they go here? Will they go there? And if you have a mind map, checking it out with a survey becomes better. Like anything, having a hypothesis always helps in doing it. But the risk of a hypothesis is, do not get hypothesis bias. Make sure that you are also looking at the alternative hypothesis if you don't have it. I'll tell you an anecdote about a brilliant person. This guy had built a small company in the Middle East which got bought over by Souk, which is equivalent like Amazon in there. And I said, how did you do it? He says, very simple, sir. We did R&D. I said, what do you mean by that? Sir, replicate and duplicate. So he had a very different chalu, jugaru way of doing it. I said, what did you do? He says, I started with analysis and I started with research, but I noticed that people were not answering. I intuitively felt they are not answering what they really need. They are answering what they think I will respect them for. They wanted to sound intellectual. They wanted to tell cool things, but I was not sure they would do it. And he gave some examples of, there are so many cricket sites that have come which showed great graphics and all, but people don't get it. They say, wow, wow, and never go back. They go back to the same cricket info or cricket buzz because it's simple. So I did that. I said, what did you do then? He said, I made them use my competitor products. I gave them 50 dirhams, 100 dirhams and said, market, buy it. And they went onto the sites and I saw that of the 40, 50 features, people use only 3, 4. And if I do that nicely, it's there. And I looked at one problem and it was very simple, sir. I said, what was it? He said that people were not happy with the size of the alus they were getting. I was like, what? He said, that's नहीं sir, वो लोग जब आलू देते हैं ना, वो mix करके देते हैं. कोई बड़ा है, कोई छोटा है. जो बनाने जाता है, if it's whole आलू, they have to chop it to make them uniform size because boiling के वक्त the big aloo will not boil as much as the small aloo will get overboiled. I said, how did you solve the problem? He said, very simple, sir. I packaged it as small, medium, large. And I said, handpicked by Lakshmi. That was my hack. So sometimes mind mapping led him to that perception. But knowing that you are doing that right mind of the consumer, not what he wants to show, but the real mind of the consumer is a trick. The third one is my absolute delight. It tells me very simply, what am I doing? Am I substituting? Am I combining? Am I adapting a new one? Am I modifying something to make it better? Am I eliminating a particular line and creating a new part? Or am I reversing? Sometimes we go too much and we realize, jo pehle tha wahi acha tha. Like today we are realizing drilling machine, if we can make nice leveraged design turpun, the ones the old carpenters use, that actually is more environment friendly. That actually is less resource hungry and does the job better because it's a cool thing, it doesn't heat it up and it actually gives us early warning. So what happens many times is the guy who's drilling doesn't know, he goes and hits a plinth. The bit breaks and all those things. Because it's mechanical and all, so many people are revising it. Look at how we are saying, going back to basics about our farming. We are proving that reversing that, going away from all the industrial way that we started fitting for, is actually bad for health and going to go back. So sometimes something which is prevalent may have a lot of negatives and reversing. This is actually pretty much in fashion right now. It's quite a big thing which was not thought of before, and it is becoming a big thing now. So you are reversing, you are thinking that how do I do more efficient organic farming? How do I create it? Okay, we will create hydroponics, it's been researched and all. Then someone says, you know what, it's all in plastic containers and that is making it get microplastics inside the food and we are actually making it worse in the name of organic. Oh, then let's go back to mitti and make the mitti clear. So sometimes you have to question the norm and do it. You can actually eliminate a product or you can reverse and look at an older thing and make it more efficient. You have to keep on going through this cycle and be very clear what are you exactly doing. And that humility will serve a lot of things. You will not falsely claim anything that you have not done. You will understand it. But each of them will look at it on a different way. Design thinking. Sometimes things are existing, is just not well designed. Like shirts were already existing. Why is a Louis Vuitton coming or a thing coming or even a new brand like Zudio making such a big thing? So sometimes it's just about design thinking and how it can optimize to do that part. It can be a price optimization, it can be a coverage optimization, it can just be creating that extra oomph in the product and making it look so attractive, the word I was looking for, which makes the difference and creates a market for itself. That's it. But the one I absolutely adore, the entrepreneurs, I think all the world worships, minus the arrogance some of them have, is first principle thinking. I'll start with an example first. SpaceX is a first principle thinking. Rockets were going all the thing and all, but they had the notion that space exploration is expensive. So in a way, he used probably the scamper model and said, can we eliminate the cost part? And think from first principle thinking. So first principle thinking is you break down the problem. What are the things? Probably for each of the broken down elements, you can apply scamper to see which is the part that you should focus on. He focused on reusability of the rocket and lower material cost with higher tensile strength, right? Then you identify the first principles by which you are going to reverse them. So he thought material science, new materials, and the way rockets are lifting and re-entering the atmosphere, that's what I will do. So rockets go with the notion that I will fill a tank and at every point I will drop my fuselage. I will not keep any tank and I will use a gravitational fling to do it and only keep minimal tank. He said, no, let's keep 30% more fuel so that when it's re-entering the atmosphere, I can give a thruster at the right points to make sure that the gravitational pull doesn't cause fusage, many manageable fusage that the material will take care, but I will have enough thing to make them land safely. Was it something rocket science, though it was rocket science? Yes, it was, because it had the very notion turned on its head, I will make things affordable. That's a big statement to make. Remember what we talked about, target audience, underserved category, and then it will do that part. Similarly for your this satellites and all, there was a project called Iridium. by Motorola, which was a big company at that point, who had done this entire satellite phone theory. It was not for internet, internet was invented there, but they had put these low Earth orbit satellites, LEOs they call it, and they had spanned the whole world. Didn't work because it was too costly. Even today, your Starlink is pretty costly, but they are targeting only remote areas. They are not targeting that. A phone is very different. You switch to a different mode. Static on that geography you are getting it is different than a satellite phone where you are roaming around and the cost is, no matter where you are, even if you are in the metro, the cost is the same. Who can afford that? No one can. Sometimes that first principle thinking really helps. Reconstruct. Now that you have integrated by parts, you have differentiated it, how do you reconstruct it to make it attractive? That's very important. And obviously, to support all of these things, you have to have a challenge of innovation. You know what the challenge of innovation is? You have to write off and think 95% times I'll fail. That takes a lot of heart. But if I succeed, I can do this whole hog. And that's a risk return ratio which people like that take. These are the guys who literally change the world. Be it an Amazon, Bezos, be it anyone who's gone and done crazy things like the cloud. The first person who wrote, let's say, the email program, apparently it's Indian, he got a patent now finally, he was 14 years old at that time. Look up, it's a quiz for you, find out who that was, get inspired. Or it could be someone who into a simple thing like hyperlink. Oh, I have decks of people. Your entire thing, you people are too used to it, but when we were going through college, the hyperlink was a new concept. It's intuitive to you. And that's the beauty, it doesn't look standing out. Imagine the guy who thought of a mouse. First principle thinker. What makes you think that something rotating here and reflecting here on a transpose, this is a different plane, that's a different plane, people will be able to accept with little bit training? They are simple things. A keyboard, a telephone, everything which didn't exist before, a sunrise, it comes from first principle thinking. And you need all these processes for that. So that's what you do when you find an idea and start making it into business. We'll come back. Thank you.